Hi, everyone, and welcome to McMaster Global Health Annual Review Journal's first workshop. I will just take a few moments to let a few additional attendees in, and then we will get going with today's kickoff event. We are recording today's workshop, so if you are comfortable being on a video, that is totally cool. However, you don't necessarily need to be. We want to respect everyone's decision, whether they want to be on or off camera today. And we also ask that any questions that you have during the workshop, we will, of course, attempt to answer them throughout today's session. However, if there are any pressing questions, we will be having a Q&A period at the end. So we do ask that you hold your questions until the end of the session so we can make sure that they don't get lost in the Zoom chat. And hello to anyone else who has just joined us. We will be getting started momentarily after everyone has been led into today's session. We just have a few more participants joining us today. Alrighty, in that case, we will get going, and anybody else who joins us, we will make sure to let them in throughout the remainder of today's session. As you may have noticed, we are recording. If there are any details that you have missed, this workshop will be posted to the GHAR's YouTube page. So you will always have the opportunity to rewatch the recording or any sections that you may have missed during today's live session. And with that, we will get going. Next slide. Thank you. To start off, I wanted to begin with a land acknowledgement. My name is Clara, and I am one of the workshop leads with the Global Health Annual Review Journal. And today I am calling in from the city of Vaughan, which is situated in the territory and Treaty 13 lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. I would also like to recognize the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and the Haudenosaunee. The city of Vaughan is currently home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. And as a resident of the city of Vaughan, I'm grateful to have the opportunity to live and work in this territory. Next slide. To start off, I want to see and get a sense of what the energy is like in the room today. So in the Zoom chat, I will please kindly ask everyone to type in one word just to describe how you are all feeling today. And if you want more than one word, you're totally welcome as well. I just want to see what how everyone is doing on this Monday evening. Alrighty, we are getting some, snowy, cozy, gratefuls, excited, grateful. Excited, good. Love that. All right. I know there are more of you in today's session than whoever commented. So let's try to see if we can get some more responses in the Zoom chat. I seconded the good. Warm. That's good to hear that you're staying warm. Great. Wonderful. And to those who have just joined us, we're just typing in the Zoom chat how everyone is feeling today. Just whatever one word comes to mind momentarily. Excited. All right, I'll give everyone else a few more seconds to comment. Oh, sorry, I do ask that you please mute yourself if you are not speaking, just to make sure that we can eliminate any echoes. All right, well, from what I'm seeing in the chat, it seems that everybody's energy is good. So I will take that as an awesome sign, and let's try to keep it up throughout the remainder of today's workshop. Next slide, please. To quickly overview the agenda for today's event, we will begin just by giving you an overview of the context of the GHAR journal for anyone who is unfamiliar with it. We will then navigate and introduce you all to our amazing 2023 editorial team that is working really hard behind the scenes to offer an amazing journal experience for all authors over the next few months. We will then dive into an overview of the submission process for submitting as a potential author. And then what you can expect in terms of upcoming events that we will be hosting, particularly in March. And lastly, we will be ending with a Q&A period. I do see that we did get a question in the chat. I am asking you all to please reserve your questions for the end of today's session to make sure that our team can get through them all and that none of them get lost in the chat. But just to quickly address iPhone's question, yeah, we could definitely go ahead and share those slides with you. And to mention, we also are recording today's session and it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel for you to rewatch later. Next slide, please. Wonderful. So about the Global Health Annual Review Journal. Essentially, what this journal is, it is an open access, peer-reviewed, student-led journal that provides the global research community with a platform or an outlet to share their findings, their insights, and their views about all different aspects as it relates to global health. The publication frequency is one issue being published per year. And we also operate with an open access policy, meaning that the journal provides immediate open access to its content on the principle that making research freely available to the public supports a greater global exchange of knowledge. And for anyone who's actually interested in the history of the journal and how it got started, it was actually an innovative product or result of a student-led initiative to showcase the innovative research projects and papers that the Master of Science Global Health students at McMaster University conducted in 2015. And the goal of the journal is not only to share the knowledge and research of current students, but also to share the knowledge and research of global health students and colleagues all around the world. So it's really about taking that collaborative and diverse and inclusive lens. And the idea is that through knowledge sharing and translation, this journal aims for the Canadian global health research to have a stronger and longer lasting impact on the global society. So that is a little bit of an overview about how this all got started. Next slide, please. Alrighty, so for this next part of today's session, we wanted to take an opportunity to introduce you all to the 2023 editorial team. This is a group of very hardworking individuals working behind the scenes to offer you a seamless, frictionless, and just an amazing and impactful and valuable experience as a part of the Global Health Annual Review community. So I will take the time to provide each of our editorial team members with the opportunity to introduce themselves to you all. And for those on our team who were unable to attend today's session, I will read their little bios so you get a sense of who they are. And also, so you know who to reach out to if there's a particular question that you have going forward. Next slide, please. And with that, Maya, I will kick it off to you.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Clara. So hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Maya, and I am the co-editor-in-chief for the upcoming issue 8 of the Global Health Annual Review. And I will be co-editor-in-chief with Aida, who will shortly be introducing herself as well. Just a little bit about me. I did graduate from the Masters in Global Health program a couple years ago, and I'm currently working at SickKids at the Center for Global Child Health. Aida, I'll pass it to you now.
Thank you so much, Maya, and thank you, Clara, for the lovely segue into the introduction. I'm Aida, and I'm one of the co-editors-in-chief alongside Maya at GHAR for issue 8. And like Maya, I also graduated from the Masters of Global Health program at McMaster University, and I'm currently undertaking 2 career paths at the moment. The first one being my full-time role as a project manager at Ontario Health Team, and the second being a business development officer at a research consulting company called The Methodologist. And my interest in global health and the GHR stems from personal healthcare experiences within my family, as well as experiencing the challenges and strengths of healthcare environments in the Caribbean where I grew up, as well as here in Canada. And I recognize the need for increased knowledge mobilization efforts that take a concerted health equity lens and disseminating research across different audiences, which led me here to this point. And I'd love to support authors by reminding them that the GHR provides a welcoming environment for professional development in the field of global health knowledge translation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, Nicole was unable to join us for today's session, so I will just quickly read her bio. Nicole Weisner, she is one of our amazing communications leads with the Global Health Annual Review. She completed her Master of Science in Global Health in 2022 and joined the GHAR editorial team to support global health research. And her aim through her role and part of the editorial team is to really support authors by serving as a primary point of contact and promoting the amazing work that they publish in issue number 8 of the journal. And with that, I will now kick it over to Chloe.
Thank you so much, Clara. Yep, my name is Chloe, and I'm the other communications lead, as was said. I'm currently working towards my Master's of Global Health at McMaster this year, and I'm in the disease burden concentration. I joined the GHAR editorial team because I wanted to expand my experiences in global health research and collaborate with other young professionals in the field. And throughout this year, I hope to support authors by helping to provide them with a platform to share their research and their insights on a broader stage. And I'm really looking forward to meeting all of you and hopefully reading some of your works.
Okay, hi, I'm Phoebe, and I'm one of the OJS leads for this year's editorial board, and me and Amandeep will be helping you guys troubleshoot the platform if there's any difficulty. So I've just completed my MPH at Queen's, and I did my MPH practicum at a global charity organization in program planning, and that's what really sparked my interest in global health. So I wanted to join the GHAR team to meet like-minded individuals and who wish to make a difference in global health. And from my prior research experience, I know how difficult it can be to share your research and the work that you've done to a larger audience. So that is my goal in mind of joining the team.
Yeah, thanks, Phoebe. I'm Amandeep. I'm the other Open Journal Systems lead. My background is in health sciences, and I also previously worked at the Monk School of Global Affairs, which sparked my interest in looking at health from a global perspective. And as Phoebe said, we're looking forward to providing our authors with support regarding all aspects of submitting through the Open Journal Systems platform.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Maddie McCarville, and I'm one of the partnership's co-leads. I graduated from the University of Guelph in 2020, where I studied international development, and I just recently completed a Master of Public Health at the University of Sheffield in the United Kingdom, where my thesis research explored the Peruvian health system and COVID-19 mortality rates through the evolving health concepts of fragility and resilience. I was motivated to join the GHAR editorial board because of my passion for open access academia and publications from underrepresented groups such as young professionals and students. However, my global health interests lie in health promotion, women's health, and breaking down barriers to the human right to health. I hope to support authors this year by expanding the global impact and reach of the GHR journal through partnership expansion. I want to see each article receive the most exposure possible and contribute as productively as possible to the academic community.
Thanks, Maddie. And Joaria, she is one of the other co-partnership leads working alongside Karishma and Maddie to incorporate the ideas of the International Editorial Assistance in GHAR journal activities. Joaria received her Bachelor of Science degree in Honors Life Science from McMaster University and is currently back to do her Master's of Global Health. Specifically, she is interested in social policy, health economics, and sustainable innovation. And she was motivated to join the GHAR editorial team in the hopes of learning from her colleagues and gaining the knowledge and perspectives on a variety of topics related to both public and global health. Her hobbies include reading and writing, so she is open to having conversations with authors about all of these different topics and brainstorming ideas together. Next, we have Karishma, and her role on the editorial team is working with the partnership subgroups. She recently completed her Bachelor of Health Sciences at McMaster, and she is currently in the middle of her Master's of Global Health at McMaster University as well, where she is completing an exchange semester in the Netherlands. It is the middle of the night, I believe, right now, where she is based at, so that is why she was unable to join us for today's session. And she was motivated to join the team because she is passionate about creating easily accessible and digestible global health related content, as well as meeting others who are passionate about global health. And she hopes to support authors by helping them achieve their personal goals as writers. Next slide, please. Alrighty, so next, I guess I will kick it over to myself. My name is Clara Latchman, and I am one of the workshop leads this year on the Global Health Annual Review editorial team. My background comes from a business administration. I graduated from Wilfrid Laurier University with my honors BBA back in June of 2021. And have since been primarily diving into the startup landscape, working on a variety of different startups and entrepreneurial wellness, particularly within the health and wellness space. And what prompted me to join this year's editorial team was, well, one, my strong passion for writing. I absolutely love storytelling and see it as a very impactful outlet to really share one's thoughts, ideas, research findings, and contribute to the global and public health narrative. And another reason why I really wanted to join this editorial team was because it aligns with my own personal aspiration or North Star, which is to advance health and well-being in the 21st century to impact both current and prospective generations. And as a co-workshop lead, I really want to support you all as authors this year by creating and helping facilitate events that that you all find valuable, both personally and professionally as you navigate this global health landscape. So I do encourage you all, if you ever have any ideas for workshops or events that you would love to see our team host for you, please do not hesitate to reach out to us through social media or through our email address, which we will give to you at the end of today's session, because we really do want this to be a very meaningful and valuable experience for you. And lastly, Jenny is the second co-workshop lead with me. She has her undergraduate studies in health sciences from McMaster University, where her work focused on sex and gender in health, undergraduate mentorship, and sexual health advocacy. She also received her Master's of Science in Global Health with the focus on innovation implementation and a gendered reproductive health approach. She is currently working in education within the Greater Toronto Area and in knowledge translation with a global NGO. And she joined the GHAR team because through her work with the disaster health researchers during her master's practicum, she recognized the importance of disseminating global health research and creating opportunities to highlight work within the field. Her global health interests include gendered reproductive health, cultural understandings of well-being, and innovation translation. And as a co-lead for workshop and events, she wants to create workshops to support the submission and review process for authors, as well as provide learning opportunities related to global health through various speaker events. She values the feedback that we gain from authors and would like to organize events that reflect what they would like to gain through the Global Health Annual Review. Next slide. Thank you. So with that, we would like to officially announce that the call for submissions for issue number 8 of the Global Health Annual Review has now opened as of February 20th. So you may all now officially proceed with submitting your amazing pieces of writing to be considered for this next issue of the journal. Next slide, please. When it comes to who can submit to the journal, this is open to research conducted for both undergraduate thesis and senior projects. Any graduate studies, scholarly papers, practicums, or theses, as well as research projects conducted by global health practitioners and academics, as well as any op-eds related to the journal topics covered in the journal. We would also like to highlight that while the GHAR does follow a peer review system, the way that it works is if you do submit an entry to this particular journal, you may also submit it to other peer-reviewed journals in the future. So we didn't want to create a barrier that it is only limited to issue number 8 of the journal. Next slide, please. Next, I will just quickly provide an overview of the timeline in the subsequent months, so you can kind of get a sense of what you're looking at as it relates to the submission process and when you will hear back. So submissions officially opened last week on February 20th, and today, of course, we are having our kickoff event, which is an introduction to the journal and the call for submissions. In March, we will be hosting 2 more workshops to really take you through the process of submitting through Open Journal Systems, which is the platform that you will be using to apply with your writing pieces. So the second workshop, which will outline the peer review process and the actual step-by-step of submitting through OJS, that workshop will be taking place in mid-March, and we will be announcing an exact date and time soon. The third workshop will happen towards the end of the month, and this will just be an opportunity to ask us any last-minute questions before submissions close on March 31st at 11:59 p.m. In April is when the peer review process will begin, and we will be hosting another event for you all to engage in. These events will be confirmed as they develop, but we really do want to provide you as many personal and professional learning development opportunities throughout our next, 7-8 months together. And throughout May, the peer review process will continue. It will take place between several rounds with authors working with their assigned reviewers. And then the notification of accepted pieces will also take place in May. That is when the copy editing process will begin. And again, we do aim to be hosting at least one event for all of you every single month, so that you always have something to look forward to from our amazing team, and just a way to interact with us, learn from one another, and enhance your exposure and understanding of the global health community. Next slide, please. Over here, you will be able to see on the screen a few of the topics that you may discuss or write about as it pertains to the GHAR journal. Of course, it is not just limited to these 9 topics. A full list of categories can be found online. However, I will also paste them in the chat right now, just so you can all get a sense of if there are any specific subjects or categories that perhaps you are interested in that would be a good fit for the journal. So some examples include globalization, human rights, newborn, adolescent, and child health, governance, environmental health and climate change, ethics, health policy and systems, indigenous health, social justice and human rights, as well as war and conflict. And of course, while other topics are not necessarily included in this list, they are welcome for submission and up for review. So I would encourage you, if you do have any questions, that you do reach out to the team via our socials or our email, just to make sure that you get an answer of whether it aligns with the theme of the journal. Next slide, please. As part of issue number 8 of the journal, we will also be accepting 4 different types of submissions. So the 4 types of submissions, the first one is a standard research article. This is a written piece that communicates research findings, and it typically follows a specific format. So it contains an introduction, methodology, results obtained, a discussion of the results, and a conclusion as it relates to the specific hypothesis of your paper. So it really follows a specific structure and is applicable to an evidence-informed article. Next slide, please. By way of example, this is just one particular research article that appeared in last year's issue of the journal. I would encourage you all to perhaps go through previous issues of the GHAR journal, just to see examples of previous work of the 4 types of submissions, so you can see whether the submission that you're interested in applying with kind of matches the typical format of what that submission looks like or has looked like in previous editions. Next slide, please. The second type of submission is an opinion editorial, also known as an op-ed, and this is a written piece that follows an evidence-based approach that expresses the author's thoughts on a particular topic within global health that they have a certain experience or expertise in. Next slide. So this is just one example of an opinion editorial. Again, I would encourage you all to go through previous issues of journals just to see whether it aligns, and also to gauge a sense of perhaps what type of structure and subheadings that you can use when you submit your writing pieces. Next slide, please. The third submission type is a narrative reflection. This is a personal piece grounded in storytelling that aims to incorporate perspectives in global health that may not necessarily fit within the scope of other traditional categories. And this is really to share the author's personal experiences and to highlight diverse perspectives that may not necessarily be fit for the typical conventional research article or op-ed. Next slide, please. And again, this is just an example of what this type of reflective narrative submission may look like. Next slide, please. Lastly, we have an art-based submission. I love this one personally. It is a creative exploration of one's perspective of global health topics through non-written means. We wanted to include this type of submission to really provide authors the opportunity to express themselves creatively beyond having to use words. And these submissions can include, but are not limited to, photographs, illustrations, or paintings, whether that be hand-drawn or painted or digital, poetry, prose, infographics, digital visualizations, photo essays, short stories, beatings. And the objective, the goal is to really foster artistic expression and to provide a platform for authors to share their insights on global health through art. Next slide, please. And this is an example of one art-based submission that appeared in last year's issue. Before I continue, I also do want to make a note that with these 4 types of submissions, we are asking that authors adhere to specific types of templates when they will be submitting their art-based or reflective narrative, op-ed, or research article. These templates, I will post a link in the chat right now, just for you to have on hand. However, they can also be found online on our website. So I will just paste it for everyone right now. And if you click on the appropriate template in that link, so under research article, opinion, editorial, reflective narrative, and art-based submission, you will see exactly the structure that we want you to follow for that. Wonderful. Next slide, please. Next, I wanted to highlight the submission guidelines that we are requesting all authors adhere to when it comes to applying with their writing pieces. We do encourage you all and do ask you all to please adhere to these guidelines. And again, this is all available on that link that I just sent in the chat if you want to further explore it after today's session. Firstly, we are asking that all submissions be submitted in prose using single-spaced text and a 12-point font. We are also recommending that you submit using Times New Roman, as that is a standard and go-to font. We are asking that all submissions be between 700 to 1,200 words. Of course, this does not pertain to the art-based submissions. And that all references are cited in Vancouver style. The referencing guide can be found online on the GHAR website. However, I will also paste a link for you all in the chat right now for you to bookmark with the guide on how to reference in Vancouver style. So I would encourage you all to bookmark that tab to make sure that you are adhering to all citing requirements. Next, submissions must comply with the accompanying templates, again, that were included in that first link and can also be accessible online. And that when you submit using .doc or .docx format. This is to make sure that we are able to get the original version of your submission. Next slide, please. One question you may be having is how many submissions you are allowed to apply with. The answer to this is that we are only allowing 1 entry to be submitted per category. In that case, you can submit up to 4 submissions. 1 research article, 1 op-ed, 1 art-based submission, and 1 reflective narrative. And if more than 1 entry is submitted in a category, only that first submission based on the timestamp will be reviewed by our team for publication. Next slide, please. As you get ready to submit with the deadline fast approaching, I believe it is almost a month away on March 31st. This is essentially a checklist, again, found online on our website to make sure that you have all you need to submit correctly. The first item is to make sure that all links and URLs for references are included, again, where they are applicable or relevant. This is to make sure that we can source and view them accordingly. Again, to reiterate the importance that all submissions adhere to the templates provided for their relevant category, that all the references follow proper referencing styles and guidelines in the Vancouver style, that your submissions are submitted in a single space text with 12-point Times New Roman font, and italics may be used rather than outlining a specific words or items, and illustrations, tables, and figures are placed within the text at appropriate points rather than at the end. Again, I would encourage you all to review previous pieces from past issues and editions, just to get a sense of what a typical submission or writing piece in your category of choice looks like. Again, we ask that all the text adheres to the stylistic and bibliographic requirements as outlined in the author guidelines section found on our website online, that the submissions are submitted in doc or .x format, and that they are between 700 to 1200 words. This does not include references, any figure captions or titles, but the actual text as it relates to your piece. Next slide, please. In terms of our upcoming workshops, workshop number 2 will be held mid-March. And this will take you through the actual submission process through online journal systems. So please do stay tuned for a date that will be confirmed on that. Again, it'll be advertised through our social media. And the third workshop will take place in advance of the March 31st deadline, just to give you all an opportunity to ask us any live questions. Think of this almost as an open office hours of sorts to address any hiccups or issues that you may be having in real time, to make sure that you are all equipped to meet that March 31st submission deadline. Next slide, please. In order to get in touch with our team on the screen, you may see all of our social media handles, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. That is where we are. Our team is most active, as well as our email address, which you may send us any questions. And perhaps if you have any inquiries, I would also suggest that in your email correspondence, you say or you outline which team you think would be best suited to answer that question for you. For example, if it relates to an OJS submission, our OJS team can handle that. Whether it relates to, for example, an event idea, then you can kick that over to the workshops team. Perhaps partnerships or communications as well. Oh yeah, and I just see Chloe's message to follow the socials. Yes, I would encourage you all to follow and subscribe to our social media handles to make sure that you do get the latest updates in real time as they get posted. And that last communications URL, journals.mcmaster.ca/GHAR. That is where you will be able to find all information as it relates to the submission process for issue number 8 of the journal, as well as where you will also be able to find the archived issues of the journals. So from between issue number 1 to issue number 7 for your reference. Next slide, please. Now we want to throw it over to you, and how can we best support you following what you've heard thus far in today's workshop. So in the chat, please let us know how you would like us to support you this year to really thrive as an author. And while you all comment in your ideas in the chat, I will also be sending a link to a feedback form. If you would like to be contacted for about a future GHAR workshops and events, this form will also provide us an opportunity to get a sense of how you felt from today's session, what worked for you, what didn't. Perhaps if you have any other questions, this form will take you approximately 1 minute to fill out, and our team will truly appreciate your feedback. So I do kindly ask you all to dedicate just 1 minute, perhaps even right now or following today's workshop to get that filled out and over to us. So I will send a link over right now. We also included one question asking if you would like to be contacted by us about future events. So again, if you would like to receive updates directly from us via email about subsequent and upcoming events, I would encourage you all to add your email address just so we can contact you about that. Alrighty, I'm not seeing any answers in the chat right now. That's okay. That's also what the feedback form is for. Perhaps if any ideas come to mind right after today's workshop. So with that, we will go over to that next slide to conclude today's session. Amazing. So we do want to open the floor right now to everyone, just for any questions that you may have. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question live or paste it in the chat. If anything does arise following today's workshop or in the upcoming days or weeks, here is our email address, mcmaster@ghar@gmail.com. So feel free to reach out via email or even through message on our socials, and somebody from our team will get back to you promptly with an answer. And with that, I will now open it up to any questions.
Feel free to also unmute and raise your hand if you wanted to voice your question or comment live here. By no means, there's no restriction to just leave it in the chat, so you can feel free to do so as well.
No questions from anyone? Unless, oh, question from the Instagram. Are the submissions open to clinical research? That is a great question. And Maya, Aida, I will actually hand it over to you since I know you have a better sense of that. Would submissions be open to clinical research?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do accept typically all forms of research. We do typically, for the most part, receive scholarly work or thesis work that students tend to do when they're completing their master's or their PhD, but we are definitely open to clinical research as well. And something that is good that Clara actually mentioned in the presentation is that if you choose to submit your work to this journal, you are not limited to submitting elsewhere as well. So if you would like to share your findings in our journal as well as elsewhere, that is also an option for you.
Wonderful, thank you. And then Jonta had a question. From our perspective, what differentiates the papers that get accepted or not? Again, Maya, Aida, I know that you were involved with the journal last year, so I will also hand it over to you as you have a better sense of this.
I can take on that, and then Maya, you can feel free to jump in if I missed out anything. That's a really good question, Jonta. We have set peer review criteria that we use to as sort of like a way to guide us on which articles get submitted past that stage. And there's also peer review criteria that's developed for arts-based submission as well. So there's definitely that equity lens that's been applied there in that sense. So that is the judging criteria that we use. Regarding that, we can definitely share more information on that particular stage of what will go through past the peer review process and what will be accepted in the second workshop. And then you can also, if there's any other additional questions that follow up from that, you can also address it in our workshop group.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, all the peer reviewers receive specific training and they receive specific rubrics that are dedicated to the different submission types. So, you know, the criteria for a research article and an op-ed might look different from the criteria that is typically used for reflective narratives and arts-based submissions. And that's totally okay, right? Because not everything can be, you know, evaluated at the same caliber. So, you know, just to give an example, for research articles, we're looking at, you know, the flow, the the content, how the ideas and the information is being shared. We're looking at the mechanics of the paper, the referencing, how did you go about, sharing your findings? So there's a lot of things that go into whether an article is accepted or not, which is why we like to leverage the use of our peer reviewers, because they do come from specific experiential backgrounds, which is what we're looking for and what we want when we're reviewing papers to include. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Janta.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Maya and Ada, for those answers, and thank you to for those amazing questions as well. If any other questions from any of the individuals on today's call or anyone watching the recording, if they do arise in the near future, again, feel free to submit them using the feedback form that we will also be sending out, or to email us at mcmaster@ghar@gmail.com. And with that, if there are no other questions, we want to thank you all again for your time today, for attending this first kickoff event, workshop number 1, Intro to GHAR and Call for Submissions. And our team looks forward to receiving your submissions and also continuing to support you over this next year together. So thank you again, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.